So when it came down to it, there were three main reasons why I chose the CFA program. Number one, and most importantly, it's the summer of 2024 and life was amazing. I had just started my fourth semester of engineering as a part of Aero MIT, the official aero modeling and drone research team of MIT Manipal. By mid-February, we had spent 6 months working 14-hour days to prepare for the SAE Aero Design competition that would be held in Lakeland, Florida later that year. The team was ready. I was personally really happy because I was in charge of electronics for AM-11. Look at that, our flagship aircraft for the year, and I had painstakingly taken every single care possible to ensure that all of the electronic components were soldered on perfectly. Everything was going really well, right up till round 5. Suddenly, as the aircraft was about to take off and the pilot turned up the throttle, nothing happened. Electronic failure. A quick test later revealed that there was a faulty electronic component in the system, and because of that, the motor had burnt out. We didn't test our aircraft for one round and one round only, round 5. And it turns out that at that point, our motor had failed. The team left Lakeland with a heavy heart and a 4th place finish. Unfortunately, there isn't a happy ending to this story. As we left the US, strange news started coming out of corners about something called a pandemic. Our flight back home was actually on a completely empty aircraft plane, and the team just made it back to Mumbai a few days before the whole world went into lockdown. Suddenly, we were dragged out of our world that revolved around our beloved workshop, and we were put in an online world where classes happened on Microsoft Teams. During the first lockdown, I spent 4 months in Chikmagalur, and at this point I had a little too much free time on my hands. It was actually at this point that I read The Intelligent Investor for the first time. Written almost 100 years ago, The Intelligent Investor is a masterpiece that will survive the test of time. Benjamin Graham, the author of this book, taught me to think of the stock market as a madman. He uses an analogy called Mr. Market to explain this. He'd say, on certain days Mr. Market would be in a good mood, and because of that he'd offer me a higher price for the piece of land that I owned. Whereas on other days, Mr. Market could be depressed and he'd offer me a lower price. The point Benjamin Graham is trying to tell us with this Mr. Market analogy is that markets are irrational. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down, but there's not necessarily any method to the madness. So why should I get excited when the markets did go up and he was in a good mood? Or why should I get disappointed if he's depressed and the markets went down? This way of thinking was liberating. I wanted to know everything about the world of finance, and I wanted to talk about it on a YouTube channel that I had created. And my thinking was very simple. I just thought, wow, this finance stuff is pretty interesting. How do I level up my skills in this game, and how do I turn it into a career that I'm actually interested in pursuing? As someone with a background in engineering, it felt completely foolish that I should drop my course at that point and pursue and start afresh in a completely different industry. So how could I get my foot into the investment management pool and see if it was an ocean that I was even interested in swimming in? This is when I came across the CFA program. The more I read about it, the more I realized, whoa, this is something that I actually would love to be studying. So when it came down to it, there were three main reasons why I chose the CFA program. Number one, and most importantly, is that I wanted to learn. As I mentioned earlier, I came from an engineering background, and the CFA program felt like a cheat code. I didn't have the time nor the slightest amount of interest in pursuing another bachelor's degree. So the CFA program at that point was a get out of jail free card that seemed like a no-brainer for me. Around April 2021 is when the first Filter Coffee Finance video even was published. So you could say that part of the reason why I'm pursuing the CFA program is because of this channel, because of you guys. Reason number two, I did not want to waste any more time. I'm pretty sure that everyone had their own way of coping with COVID and the lockdowns. For me, it wasn't really the lockdowns that got to me. It was the feeling that life had come to a complete and sudden stop. Nothing felt like it mattered. And damn, I hated this feeling, and I really wanted to get out this feeling of being stuck or being in inertia. Pursuing the CFA was my way of fighting the COVID inertia. Number three, I did not want to do a master's degree right after I finished with college. Once I was done with 4 years of engineering, I had one main priority on my mind. I wanted to get some good work experience working in a multinational corporate company. Luckily for me, this is something I was able to get when I was still in college during my placement season. My thinking was really simple. I went into engineering without doing any solid research and ended up spending 4 years of my life pursuing a degree that I will never make a career in. Why make the same mistake even with my masters? This time, I was willing to take my time and wait for something that I genuinely wanted to commit to long term. Surprisingly, 1 year later, I've come to the realization that there isn't really anything that a university can teach me that life cannot teach me 10 times faster for free. On the education front, there is always going to be so much more that you can learn practically without having to sit through a classroom and learn it through a professor. And with that, we come to the end of this week's video on Filter Coffee Finance. It is short and sweet, and maybe it'll give you a little bit of insight into why I'm on this journey into pursuing the CFA program. If you'd like to buy The Intelligent Investor, I'll attach the link in the description down below. Thanks for watching, friends. Let me know if there are any other topics that you'd like to see in the future. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to Filter Coffee Finance if you have it. And until we meet again, this is Filter Coffee Finance signing off.